So we're asking the question today, how many long runs should we do to get ready for a marathon? And I wanted to see what different runners have done. We're at the SF Marathons. We just wanted to get people's experience. What have you done in the past when you prepare? Like how many 18 to 20 mile long runs do you feel like you need to do personally to get ready? Done both things where you've run a 20 to 22 where you don't go all the way, and then you've done another one where you've gone the 26, 27, and 28. Which one do you like better?
I like going past the marathon because then I know I can do it on marathon day.
My longest was 16 miles.
Okay.
I did like 2 times 20.
2 times 20?
Yeah, and then 18, and then 16, and then 14, then 10 last week.
16. 16 miles?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, mine was the same.
I would go up to about 22.
20 miles.
23 and a half miles. My longest run I've done is probably about 17 miles.
17 miles.
20 miles.
23 miles.
23?
Yeah. Ooh.
16 maybe?
Yeah, that's 16.
Yeah,
16?
16. I wish I would have done more.
You wish you would have done more? What do you wish that you would have gone to?
Maybe 20.
Kilometers. 3 times.
22 miles.
22? And is that pretty average for you to do that?
Yes.
Well, with Run 365, we did 22 miles, and then we started tapering back from there.
50K. I ran the 50K race.
50K?
Yeah.
50K race.
Yeah.
Well, I did comrades twice.
Comrades, for those of you guys who don't know, is a 52-mile race in South Africa.
Yeah.
So, did you just do Comrades this year?
This year, you didn't even know.
No?
Previous year.
Previous years?
18. I would say looking back on it, maybe should have done a little bit more because around mile 24 I got a little heavy need. But I think it really depends on the runner and their experience.
I would say 22 miles. I like to try to be on my feet for 3 hours and 20 minutes, say.
I think 20 is a nice round number.
20 is a nice number. So it appears these 18 to 20 mile long runs in preparation for the marathon are pretty darn popular, and they are on a lot of marathon programs out there online for a reason. They do a lot for us physiologically. They help develop our aerobic capacity and efficiency. They help develop our metabolic pathways so that we are more efficient at burning fat as fuel, sparing our precious glycogen stores in our muscles and our liver, that quick converting sugar when we go into those areas of higher intensity and greater fatigue, which is excellent for the end of the marathon. It gives us that durability and that stamina. Can we just suffer being on our feet for a couple hours and still manage? It gives us the experience. Do we know what to eat, how to pace, how to fuel? But with that all being said, there's still a lot of difference in terms of how many of these runs I do. And then there are a lot of runners and coaches that have tinkered with the 18 to 20. Some go a little bit shorter. Some insist that you need to go longer. Some have even experimented with going beyond 26 to even doing 30-mile long runs in prep. So what's the deal? Can you do too many of these 20-mile long runs? And what are the downsides of doing that? We're going to get into that in the next section. So there are 3 main drawbacks to doing too many 20-mile, 20-plus mile runs in this coach's opinion. Number 1, and it's something we talk about all the time, is injury. And specifically because running on those tired, fatigued legs affects your mechanics. It can't not help but do so. It's very important to run on tired legs and get that exposure. But what happens is that when we push our edges, our mechanics start to get a little wobbly, our hips drop, our knees start to cave in, and that compounds and gets worse the more times we do it. So all of a sudden, our risk for injury increases more so and more so. There's some coaches out there who believe that, humans like runners shouldn't necessarily go beyond a 2.5 to 3 hour long run as well, because the benefits don't outweigh the risks at that point. Once I go past 3, I'm not getting much more aerobically, and I'm just pounding the body to a bloody pulp. So I want to make sure that I pull back there as well. For the second thing is potential burnout in your training. Even if you arrive healthy and you can survive all the training without necessarily any injuries, you get into your race almost mentally injured. You don't have that ability, that motivation to dig deep and push and really achieve your best, which is really disappointing after you've done all this hard work to not actually see it come through on race day. And a lot of athletes do this because they're afraid that if they don't do enough or they feel like they haven't done enough, so they're just going to get one more long run in because that's going to be the difference. That is where we get into trouble. We start making those fear-based training decisions, and it's better to actually come back a little bit, do a little bit less so that you're hungry on race day and you've got that freshness and that edge to really kick it on the marathon. Now, the third final thing that we want to talk about with marathon training is just it puts too much focus on this one day of the week. It distracts us from all the other important things we need to do to be a holistic, healthy, strong, and like kick butt marathon runner. We need time to work on our drills and our form. We need to be ruthless about that. We need strength training sessions in there, improving your range of motion, making sure muscles are firing and activated on all cylinders. You need to be exposing yourself to tempo and to hill and to speed work, varying the stimulus, working on the different energy systems in your body to make sure that you are this strong, well-rounded athlete. And if I am just doing too many long runs, I'm shuffling all the time, I'm slow, my mechanics aren't great, my speed suffers and declines, and I don't have as much time to focus on these other sections. So I become this very myopic runner that can only do very, very limited things, and then all of a sudden, I'm this thing that can just fall over very easily, like a little card can just get pushed over. So we want to be careful with those things. The next section I'm going to talk about, okay, great, now that you've said all these things, it freaks me out a little bit. How do I know how many 20-mile long runs I should do for myself? You know, as a coach in this day and age, I can't help but realize and appreciate that it was other coaches 40, 50 years ago who were tinkering with the marathon and testing out different distances to train their athletes at. And over time, that has melded into these rules and these almost like laws that we all have to follow. And we see this 18 to 20 mile run that's always there. But it hasn't always been there. And it's actually just a function of what some people figured out on their own. And I like to remind myself of that and you of that, to give ourselves the freedom that we can continue to tinker with this as well. It doesn't mean that the training plan we're following is the rule of law. So how do we figure out what we need? Well, there's a few different ways to do it, but one of the things that I think about is attacking the areas that I am most likely to avoid. I'm least excited about to train. I have the least experience in. Now, if you're a brand new marathoner, that might mean just running the distances. You got to get ready from a 12, a 14, a 16, an 18, a 20 mile run. I remember my first marathon training, every week I ran a new long distance PR and I was terrified, but just that exposure and time on my feet was exactly what I needed at the time. You know, that being said, if some of you are running at those more moderate speeds, maybe limit your exposure to going beyond 3 hours in the run, as we know that the risk of injury and abuse starts to outweigh the potential benefits of those longer runs. If you're someone who's got a bunch of these long runs underneath your belt, I challenge you to practice your speed and your tempo a little bit more. Focus on more marathon pace specific work. Focus on maybe even going a little bit faster than that. And you could do that a few different ways. You could do a progressive long run that's 16 to 18 miles. We're really focusing on picking up speed on the back half of the run so that you're finishing at or above your marathon pace, training yourself to run faster on those tired legs. Another way to do it would be that you get yourself in a pre-fatigued state in the early miles of the long run. So you do some fartleks, some other type of intervals, those first couple miles, you get your legs real tired, and then you have to settle in for that back half. So let's say you were running 16 miles, you're really focusing on not running the first 16 miles of the race, but the last 16 miles of the race. And let's say for argument's sake that you're a super experienced runner and marathon runner, you've done years of build-ups at that 16, 18, 20 miles. You've done a lot of tempo and speed and you're a little stuck. Well, maybe we get you training for a 50K. We do that as a cycle before your marathon. We get you, pushing beyond what you've done before. Again, expanding your comfort zones so that you can come back and get that different stimulus. But at the end of the day, we all need to ask ourselves inwardly, what are we most afraid of? What are our edges? Where are we least experienced? Let's go after those. Remember that if we do expose ourselves to those longer runs, we have to take ownership of the risks we're taking on with better mobility work, better strength training, and injury prevention, right? We want to make sure that we go up to the edge, but not beyond that, so we can arrive race ready, healthy, and ready to go. Just a little video update here. I'd be remiss if I didn't give you guys any hard numbers, because you're like, I watched this whole video and this dude hasn't actually given me anything, WTF. So here's the deal. If you are an injured athlete or you are struggling in those early progressions of your marathon run, you should be doing 0 18 to 20 mile long runs, and instead training like a triathlete, doing brick style runs where you pre-fatigue your legs with a hard cross-training session, either on the bike, potentially the rower are my two favorites, and then you run distances that you know your body can handle. If you're a new marathoner and you're building up for the first time, trying to get, at least one 18 miler, seeing how that feels, either doing another one or building up to 20. Remember that caveat. If my long runs take me much longer than 3 hours to run that 18 to 20 miles, it's going to take a lot longer for me to recover, and it's going to be a distraction to the rest of my week. So I'd be better off capping it at that 3 hour mark, maybe going a little bit beyond, and knowing that by focusing on your strength and your speed and learning how to run those distances faster, that's going to be your best ticket to being that faster and more prepared marathoner. If you've done a marathon or two underneath your belt and you're wanting to up your game, by all means, try to go for 2 20-mile long runs in there where you build up. You've got a week where you drop down in the middle and then you build yourself back up again. And for you super experienced vets out there, you can start to play with this a little bit. Can I work into 2, maybe 3 plus 20-mile runs in that 12-week cycle therein? But remember, at the end of the day, it is about that entire week. It is about being strong, being mobile, and being agile and good with my run form overall. Less is more in terms of getting myself to the starting line and being ready. So there you have it for some hard numbers for me. I'll see you guys later. Hey, how do you tackle your long runs? How many do you do? How long are they? We would love to hear about it. Just post down in the comments below. We can have a little conversation. If you are looking for inspiration for new workouts to do to make you that better marathoner, everything from follow along strength and injury prevention workouts to interactive runs that take you through your warm-ups, your drills, and the intense sessions that you should be doing, download our new training app. There's a link in the description below this video that'll take you right to the page to be able to do that. Like this video as well, helps other runners find this, and of course subscribe to our channel, guys. We got new videos coming out each and every single week on all the topics that runners need to be the better runner they want to be. I'm gonna keep filming in our usual lovely spots. I will see you in the next video.
When you're taking a photo of you pulling your ponytail, you can't actually pull it. You just lightly grab it and then it looks natural.